Gentlemen,
hey everyone, we're back.
We are back.
James and James.
James, and look who's back down here at the bottom. It's Mr. Sean. We would like to welcome Mr. Sean as our permanent third wheel.
Hey everybody.
Yay.
Thanks for having me.
So yes, we are expanding to a third member. Sean has willingly, for some reason, decided he's going to give up his Monday nights for whatever reason. God bless him. And welcome back to the Automotive Podcast. We are here in episode 7, or if you're listening to this online, it's season 1, episode 2. We will be, hopefully, before the end of the week, have the first episode dropped online. I do have the audio done for almost all of it. There's one more thing I want to ask Sean about his interview last week, real quick here at the beginning. And I'm going to have to cut a few, because I wanted to do them we'll do them at the end of the show for like the closing bits, because I want the audio to be the same. So if I record offline, it'll end up, the audio will sound different. I sound like I've swallowed a frog because I still have a chest infection thing going on that my kid brought me home 2 weeks ago.
That was so nice.
I feel fine, but I cough, which makes my voice sound like I'm now the most interesting man in the world. So from an audio standpoint, this is probably great. I should keep this voice, but
a little reverb going on in your voice there, yeah.
Yeah. So if I mute out, if you see me mute out, keep talking so that I can cough. But otherwise, yeah, this is the week of NNL East for the majority of us here. It is, if you're listening back to this, it is Monday the 22nd, so we are about 4 days away from traveling out to New Jersey to the Police Athletic League building, where we'll be packed full of things we don't need and a whole bunch of work on the table that we're going to go join looking at. I'm sure James, if nobody else, will make videos of the tables and upload them to his channel. So if you want to see what there is to see, usually somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 models on the table at any given show, depending on the year. I think it petered out a little bit last year, so to speak, because the COVID year, first year back from COVID, was crazy. Everybody had all the time in the world to build, and NNL East being a non-judged, non-competition show, except for a few little odds and ends awards, best in show, best junior, and a couple of theme things. Everybody always brings pretty much everything they have, because there's no, for everybody who just for everybody who does contests, the IPMS thing is you can't get more than one award in any given category. Most car model shows the same way. So you start plotting. I got to put one thing here, one thing there, one thing in the other place, so that I'm not competing against myself, so to speak. So yeah, it's a good time. Much like the original NNL in Toledo, where you just went and hung out with your friends and put your work on the tables, and you had a good time. So it's definitely a social show. So me and James have discussed this before. So Sean, you're NNL East, not so much your experience necessarily, but what are you looking forward to get this ball rolling?
Let's see. So this will be my third time at the show. I'm excited. It's a really cool show. The amount of models there is very impressive, and the quality of the stuff is there. And then it's sort of like, it's the who's who of modeling, especially like on the East Coast. So it's a great opportunity to, meet people and, see the models that you may have seen online or, in the forums, or it's a chance to get to, talk to people and kind of share techniques and ideas. And I'll be meeting you guys in live, so that'll be kind of fun. And James Duff, we've never met in person, so that'll be cool. So I'm excited about that. There's a lot of good. It's a good shopping opportunity. They have pretty good swap meet. A lot of cool stuff there. So yeah, I'm excited.
Have they posted the vendor list yet? Do you know of? The last time I checked, it was like the 17th, and they said that they would post it on the 15th. So it was 2 days late at that point.
I did go look this morning because also I had been waiting to see what the web theme was going to be, because it seemed like it never showed up. By the way, if you want build the web theme, you need to go grab yourself one of the new AMT4 Broncos and build it in the next 4 days. By If you listen to audio podcast, tough luck. We'll see what's going on next year. But yes, the vendor list was put up. It's still, the link still says 2023, but when you click through, it's 2024's. So Atlantis will be there. Ravel is supposed to be there, so Ed will be there, and then of course Steve and Rom 2 will be there. They put out a post on Facebook today about going anyway, so we knew they'd be there. Beside that, but so there'll be at least 3 manufacturers there, and I'll certainly be sneaking over to Ed's booth and seeing what I can weasel out of him. The last they were out in Indianapolis and come over with Auto Power did do their booth as a video, but he really didn't go into, well, the Corvette was sitting there, the CA Corvette parts were there, and we just sort of glossed over that fact. And it's like, wait a minute, that's the next new tool kit coming. And there's a few things coming for May that we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's like, guys, like, is there anything new coming? And it was like, no. I'm like, what about all the Stranger Things, kits? What about especially the Blazer, the new tool Blazer? We all want the new tool Blazer, Ed, So that's part of my, my gung ho thing that will be bothering Ed Sexton for the day.
And Steve did tell me that he's going to debut a new release at that show.
Nice.
Yeah, I did see them say they were going to be talking about unannounced models, which would be something new because they were up in Detroit and they did put out a few things there. So I'm intrigued. I'm interested as always.
We're insiders, so James, you should say Steve who and Steve of what company?
I'm sorry. Yes, our friends at AMT Round 2 announced that they will bring something brand new to the NNL East to show for the first time.
What do you have any speculation on what that might be?
I know what it is, but I can't tell you.
He could tell you, but then he would have to kill you.
I bet I could guess, but I don't want to steal. So I will let Round 2 have all the glory of sharing.
Well, I do know that for when we do talk about the May kits a little later here, we will be talking about Sean's work once again, because one of the things in that list of Round 2 stuff is the 62 Pontiac, and he did a box artwork for that one. So once again, we've brought on Sean here to gloat about his own work.
We enjoy it.
Yeah, I've got a little something special on the desk there that's getting close to be finished too. So it's going to make a premiere appearance at NNL.
Very cool. Very cool.
We can talk about that a little bit later if you'd like.
Absolutely. We'll do a round table.
All right, so for folks who, by the way, welcome to everybody. We've got 1,000 people in the comments here, so that's great to see everybody in early today. Already got 21 people in, 4 minutes into the show, so that's awesome, guys. Appreciate the support.
Thank you very much.
But the one thing we're talking about offline that I wanted to do here is one question left from Sean's interview last week, because someone completely slipped my mind. It's something I want to ask everybody who comes on the show. So bear with us as we go backwards in time 2 weeks. So Sean, one of the bits I'm stealing from one of the other podcasts, Plastic Posse podcast, is they always ask this question, and I've heard now this answer from, I don't know, 55, 60 different modelers of the what I would call IPMS ilk, guys who build tanks and planes and all that stuff. So when I get the car guys, opinion of this, call it the Magnus Open build. And I know James is, because we've talked about this before, and he's on the hot seat for tonight, so he'll have to think about this as well. But the Magnus Opus build, the concept is if you had, the end of time, the end of days were coming, whatever, and you had either one kit itself or one project, one overarching, I want to build 8 of these things in every factory color kind of thing. If you had one project that you wanted to get accomplished, you haven't built yet, that would be sort of your, life's work project, what would that be?
That's a good question. I have several different big ambitious ideas for projects that I've always wanted to try to tackle, but they've been I know how much work it would be. So one that comes to mind is I've always wanted to do a mid-60s car carrier and do a Ford C-Cab with a car trailer full of 64 Galaxies one of each of the different body styles. So I would take a 64 Galaxy kit and convert each one into a station wagon, 4-door sedan, 2-door post, convertible, etc., and have sort of a complete body line. I've got all the kits to do them, and it's a project going to do, and maybe someday I'll get around tackling it. So yeah, that's
kind of brewing the whole project up in your head, huh?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. So I made an outline for the show, and I've already forgotten what it was. No, it's I'm in the background here, desperately trying to figure out where in the world on my phone the pictures went, because I showed them to the guys today. We've made a nice little group chat so we can sit here and talk about podcasty type things. The problem is, like, where in the world on my phone, because I'm trying to transfer them off my phone into where on my phone storage do these images go? But we have a couple of things that would qualify sort of as breaking news, I guess. Not really breaking in a sense, because some of you guys may have seen them. Depends on how much you circulate the forums and discuss that sort of thing amongst yourselves. But one of the things, big things, I guess, was we talked about Hasagawa's Shizuka show stuff last podcast. We're to discuss a whole bunch of new stuff. So to me, it was like, well, we didn't do anything at Nuremberg with a German toy fair, which is where they've been debuting their goods, their wares for the last couple of years, because the COVID restrictions in Japan were such that they weren't traveling overseas, or people couldn't travel into Japan to go to Shizuka and All Japan. So they were doing a lot of that work in Germany. Well, that's obviously not a problem anymore, finally, for those guys. So they announced a, how should we put it, a reboot, if you will, of their Nissan Datsun Fairlady 240Z. They had put out a 240ZG, which is the Japan specific. Although the nose piece was sold in the United States over the counter, because part of Group 4 racing, I know we were talking offline about boring you with decal manufacturing. Here, let's bore you with race car stuff instead, because that's what I do. No, the aerodynamic nose that is on the front of that, it's an extended nose with sort of polycarbonate headlight covers. We're not legal in the United States because, golly, the federal government and their lovely decision about sealed beam headlights. So that nose wasn't available in the United States as a factory option. But in order to race it in SCCA, they had to make the parts available. So the nose was available here. Well, they've made a regular 240Z now, the one with a conventional short nose, if you will. And the big thing is that it has left-hand drive parts in it, as well as the bits and pieces to do what they're calling a street custom. And now, as I sit here and talk about it, I realize that I've already downloaded that crap onto my own computer, so that's why I can't find it on my phone. So, let's have James actually pay attention to what he's talking about here and put those things up on the screen. A lot of people, when you see this, will be saying, "Hey, I know my manga and my anime."
He froze on us. Oh no. There we go. Yeah, so that is the Wangan Midnight car.
Oh,
I think you're freezing on us, James.
Yep, golly, great. Everybody froze on me, so I'm not sure if that's me or that's that's the wonderful world of the internet. But yeah, so this is going to be a semi-new tool stuff here. The body itself, the base interior, the chassis, and all that stuff is going to carry over from the last one, and you're going to get these over fenders and, like I said, the left-hand drive parts and things of that nature. And there's sort of a little comparison between the two. So I was talking about the ZG. I want to have this picture up there so you can see what I was talking about. The longer nose with the poly, shorter nose without the aerodynamics there.
And are those mini light?
Technically speaking, those are Watanabes.
Okay.
Technically speaking, the ZG only came in 3 colors. It came in Grand Prix white, Grand Prix red, and Grand Prix maroon. I don't think many people care. They painted them whatever they were supposed to be. But, you know, if you're going to be all like gung-ho, it only came in 3 colors from the factory. But it's cool. And like I said, the big push here is going to be, let me zoom in here if I can, over here to this top tree in the corner here. This has pixelated to crap, but you can see here you have your left-hand drive dashboard, a new scuttle panel for the left-hand drive wipers, and then a left-hand drive firewall, which you're like, hey, what difference does that make? Well, the battery and the brake boosters are on different sides of the car because of where your steering column goes through the firewall, obviously. So yeah, that's a big deal if you care about which side of the wheel your steering wheel is on. But you're going to get a new chrome tree up here with some new bumpers, along with the bumper overrides that were on the US spec Datsuns. I saw somebody post on Instagram that wished the fender flares were separate. Well, they are. The only problem is if we zoom back in here on the nose, that little front lip spoiler is molded to the bottom of the front fascia here, so you're kind of stuck with that part of it. You know, it
You
sort of
have
depends
to
on
mask it. Ugh.
not so much masking it, but a lot of people just didn't want it. They wanted like a full stock 240Z, which I get, but at the same time, you're buying something called street custom. It's that's what it is. To me, it is not, doesn't care what you think. They're building their own model.
Right.
The one nice thing I see in engineering here, because it's hard to tell a lot from just these sprue shots, unless you already have the kit itself, is the fact they split the Watanabes into two pieces, so you can chrome or stainless steel or whatever your lips are separate from your wheels. So that'll make painting those a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, having the fender flares be separate, that's nice too, because you know, joking about painting, you know, it's body color on this car, so it's not necessarily an issue masking it off. It's just an issue of aerodynamics. If you don't put this flare on, the front end looks kind of goofy. You'd have to file that off. Or somebody said put the Hasegawa nose on. I'm not sure that the Hasegawa nose, because of the differences in Hasegawa scaling, sometimes would actually fit or not. But
Right.
for the engine, got to have an engine fans. This kit does come with an engine. The turn metal individual throttle bodies will probably be machine parts. That's been the shtick with the street custom Skylines that they've done in the past. So yeah, it's got an engine. It's got the steering wheel on the right-hand side, or the correct side, if you want to look at it that way. But I'm sure the complaints will still flow forth that it's too expensive and it's not, you know, they won't. I don't want this lip spoiler and all the rest of that stuff. But yeah, there you go, guys. How about that?
I'll kit bash it with the ZG and put it on the correct side.
Looks like a nice kit. I noticed the all the custom parts were on one sprue, and I'm wondering, do you think you'll see a completely stock version in addition?
I think you would have to do what James said. You'd have to buy the ZG, because the ZG has, technically speaking, the correct lower front fascia to it. It would have, and if you wanted to build a left-hand drive sort of day 2 ZG with Watanabes on it, you could do that too, because they said the nose piece is separate. Obviously, you can see the nose piece was separate on that tree too. So you could, you know, swap those parts over. I don't necessarily believe you're going to see a stock one. The thing about Tamiya, and James will testify to it there because he's got the entire catalog behind him, is the fact that Tamiya makes like 2 versions of a kit. There's whatever the first version is, and then there's like the Mercedes SL. Oh, we've got a clear body, and the Lexus LFA, it's a clear body, and a bunch of the Ferraris were like, we're molding it in yellow, yay! And it's like, oh, okay, great. Now I can't paint this. It was bad enough it was red. Now it's banana yellow. All right, can we mold it in white? But yeah, probably not. I see a lot of people like, oh, now they can make the Safari Rally. It's like, there's so many Safari Rally versions of that available through other companies. I don't know that to me it's going to be like, here's a third one, but it's got an engine in it. So whether or not we'll see that, I couldn't tell you, but more than likely that's the other version of the kit, and it is what it is.
Cool.
Would be my guess.
the comments, they're egging on Tim Custom to do an altered wheelbase of it.
It's a you can put the fender flares on that Oldsmobile convertible. It'll work out well.
There you go. There you go.
I am going to go back because we talked about our chat here. Everybody bear with me for half a second here because I can pull them down off of here real quick. The folks over at Mobius occasionally stop in over at Model Cars Magazine. and they occasionally post over there. Most, God bless them, because that's its own that's its own thing some days on the behavior of the membership, but it is what it is. I know I've spent quite a bit of my life wasted arguing with folks over there about things, but that's my personal decision. Nobody else has to go with it. But what they posted up were photos of a future variation of the Ford F100s that they've done a gajillion of. We talked about these last week or last episode with Sean, because he did a bunch of box art for the Model King versions of it, but they are making a Mercury M100 version of the Ford pickup. So you're going to get a few new bits and pieces with that they showed up. These are Mobius's pictures themselves that are public posted, but I haven't seen this discussed anywhere else. So breaking news. So you're going to get Mercury tailgates here, which have a lovely reverse inset on the inside of the tailgate. I appreciate that. For all the various foibles that Mobius kids have had over the time, they do pay attention to detail a lot, and so you get the sort of the reverse inset on the inside of the tailgate and the raised version on the outside. The hood has a new Mercury lettering on the front, and there's a new chrome tree that has the Mercury stuff on it, like the badging for the fenders here, as well as they are, and this is sort of unrelated, but they finally tooled up what are the correct wheels for the F100 for a lot of the years that were not actually in the kits in the past. These will be in the Mercury kit, as well as they're going to be, and this kind of horrifies me a little bit, because they said, oh, it's going to be in every other Ford F100 we release from now on. It's like, how many more are we planning? Because we're 14 or so already, but I'm sure they mean it more in a sense of when they reissue them in the future, because like the 69's been reissued, the 70's been reissued. I think the 72 got a reissue as well. So yeah, for folks who were sourcing them from like Fireball or other places, you're going to get a full set of actual F100 caps. Plus, they're putting the 4-wheel drive ones in as well, with the ones with the the hub holes in them. So it's a little bit to make it something else. And I think I'm pretty confident the guys in the comments here could comment as well. But I think that's the first, technically speaking, Canadian model kit that's ever been done.
Oh wow, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, super cool. I actually had no idea this thing was coming until you shared it with us. Like, really? A Mercury truck? I had no idea. I'm no more in the know than most of the internet. Yeah, that's very cool. Those Ford trucks are great. Those kits are really nice, and if you like them, then another version, I'm sure you'll like that as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, do I need another truck? No. Well, I grabbed one of those because it's kind of sort of unique. Probably yes, because that's who I am as a person. I'm the guy who has too many of every little individual little thing. So yeah.
I'm waiting for the Chevy trucks.
Yeah, me too. 2026 or so, we'll reconvene. Because they are at this point, yeah. for folks listening back, that's going, what are you talking about? I'm coughing. Those are the Chevy trucks rather are in a design phase at this point. They're still a year plus out, I would guess, at least.
Right.
We'll see those 65 Plymouths and the tow truck and things of that nature beforehand, hopefully. It's Mobius. They have a release schedule, but only they know it.
Until it's ready, right, Sean?
Nothing gets released until it's ready. That's correct.
I had a discussion with somebody just in passing, in some comments complaining, "Oh, Mobius and Pegasus works at the speed of cash. They're not selling half the company to Wall Street, venture capital the way Round 2 did." And there's nothing wrong with that. Round 2 got a whole bunch of money, and they've done a whole bunch of work with it. So I mean, it's not like they sold half the company and then went and hid in the corner and counted money like Scrooge McDuck or anything. They've put out, at this point with that Chevelle Malibu SS that's coming that we know about. I mean, we're at like 17 I know people don't consider the revised, revisited tools new, but they're brand new tooling. It's new steels. Like they're made out of the old parts. They've done something else. So there were like 17 new tools at this point. They've spent that money that they got.
Yeah, that's an impressive amount of new tooling that they cut this year. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Rick Salvino, guy who owns half of Salvino's JR Anomaly, but is the guy who talks about it. He's the public face. Hell, has his name on it. He's absolutely right, but he's always like, "We've cut more steel than anyone else." Hasegawa and AMT would argue with you about that. Hasegawa's putting out 3 new toolkits every year, and then like 3 versions of every new toolkit every year. So they're at like 6 or 7 new releases a year. And then round 2's, 16 tools into new stuff over there. And sure, some of it, the 68 Coronets and things, the new, there's another version of the Bronco coming and all that. Like they're releasing variants, but it's not all stuff that necessarily, at least from the outset of looking at it right now, you can see where, if you know enough about the history, you can see where those pieces and parts might go in the future. But there's not, as you stand here look at it, the ultra wheelbase Chevelle, like that doesn't go anywhere else. It says ultra wheelbase Chevelle. That's that chassis could go underneath some other things down the road, but like as it stands, like there's no another version of that coming necessarily.
Right. It's the end of the line for that one, right?
Although
all right,
do a lot of different variations with decals and box art and those types of things. So.
Right.
You'll probably see a. I mean, I don't know anything, but I imagine you'll eventually see some other with the same parts inside.
Yeah, unlike what was it, Lindbergh, when we got 7 different flavors of the Dodge 330. Remember, they were all just the exact same kit with just different decals in them.
Well, I mean that is how you amortize tooling. It's like, hey, how many different ways can we release this same thing? And I mean, Hasegawa and Fujimi at while when they were actually being sort of on point, so to speak. They were. We throw a different decal sheet in here, and we'll put any extra parts in to make it right. We'll just throw an extra sheet of decals in here, and hey, it's new.
Well, it's new stick too. So,
well, sure, yeah. I mean, I just everything went everywhere. I picked up the new Audi R8, and like the thing is new here is the spoiler is different, so. It means something to me because that means I don't have to buy a $30 resin conversion for that spoiler. But is it anything else new about that? No. Is it actually accurate to a 2022 Audi R8? No. There's a whole bunch of stuff you'd have to do to it if you cared. But it's one less, one less resin transket I have to buy. Lau's going to be upset because I don't have to buy any more spoilers. But that is sort of that. All right, gentlemen, as we move on to the next part here, what is everybody working on?
Go ahead, Sean. You go first.
Well, I'll show you what I got on my desk here. So I'm very close. I have the Moibus tow truck. So it's the one I'm building for the box art.
No, not me. How do you make him? How do you make just him?
So I got it. I needed to circulate through the 3 of us. Calm down.
Yeah, it's pretty close to being finished. So hopefully I got to wrap this thing up. All the parts are done. I'm in the final assembly mode. You can kind of see the parts and pieces. So it's
big.
It is very big. It's a big truck. Yeah.
That's 24/5 scale, right?
Yeah, it's the same scale as all the other ones. It's
big truck.
Yeah, big truck. A lot of parts. I don't know how many. I mean, there's probably a couple hundred parts. I don't know exactly.
Wow.
But yeah, it's got a lot of detail. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then also I have the Coronet. So I have the Coronet that I built for the box art, the ultra wheelbase one. and I finally got the decals in. I got a preprint of the actual decals, so I got to get those on the model, and I'm going to bring both of these with me to the NNL, so I can put them on the display table and people can check them out. So
Very
yeah.
cool. Very cool.
All right, Mr. Chester, we know you have a not so super secret project you're working on because you're posting it all over God's green earth. So,
so our friend in China made the Hatsune Miku BMW Z4, and I now have it in decals. So decals are done. I'm going to shoot clear tomorrow and polish it by New Jersey. So on the table as well, I'm going to have the mocked up interior and just my white glue review of the interior. So it's all glued together with white glue, and I'll display the two together on the tables.
Nice.
I find this unfortunate because, Sean, I believe that if he actually put his back into this, he could get that whole thing done in time.
No, I was told that I need to mow the yard and all that before I leave.
Sure, there's a honey.
Well, as I've often argued to people who say, "Oh, you play video games; these kids are not focused on anything." Well, the glue's got to dry some point, so you have plenty of time to mow the lawn. Paint everything, zzz, glue everything. Zzz. Yeah, I've been to your house. I've seen your yard. It ain't that big. It ain't like you got an acreage where you gotta like mow the golf.
It's a half acre of grass. Takes me about an hour and 20 minutes.
It's flat.
Yeah.
Come over to my house, mow my 3/4 acre of the hills that I have all over my property. All right.
Yeah, working.
Go ahead, Sean. Oh, what am I working on?
That's pretty good.
Of course, nothing. Actually, I did pull out a one of the 2012 McLaren MP412Cs that I have because in discussions with Wenbin, we were talking about one of the upcoming AMG. Well, it's not upcoming; it's running. They've run a round over Super GT this year already. But one of the teams in Super GT that's running AMGs this year is the same team that ran. I wish I had one down, but it's way over there. Ran the McLaren 12C in the background, Pacific Racing, and they did an anime car. That was the Live Love Racing, which is a bunch of Vocaloid girls all over the side of a car. So it's right up James and mine alley of computerized girls on your race car thing. And they've done that set of decals in that box before, and they're sort of revisiting that scheme on a Mercedes. And so talking to Wenbin, it was like, hey, you should make this because we're sort of out of good small. I mean, he can go back to do other good small stuff. The 2010 Porsches and the 2011 Z4s haven't been done, and somebody did do the 2021. Somebody did do the 2021 AMG and decals, but they're wrong. You could look at the picture they supplied with the decals and the decals they gave you and go, these aren't the same. Why did you release these? These are not the same. You had a picture, you supplied me with a picture, and they don't match. So he said in passing that like there were plans to do both the AMG and revisit the Fujimi decals, because anybody who's built anything with any substantial Fujimi decals knows that that's a yeoman's effort compared to using a cartograph or something similar type printing. And they also did, well, they've done an Evangeline car as well as one that was specific to the Gia race of Macau that has golf decals in it. So it's a McLaren orange, papaya orange car with like the golf blue to it. And then like at some point I need to build those specific Fujimi cars almost before anything else, because those decals were already crap to begin with and they're not getting any younger sitting here. And I actually do have a Studio 27 set of the same sheet of decals. So I am pulled one down because I built a 12C in the past. It's a very, relatively speaking, simple build. That's not a two-tone because it's all orange. And to me, it makes I could decant the TS whatever it is that's the orange, because that orange was originally created to do the big scale McLaren F1 cars. So it's McLaren orange in that can. And yeah, that'll probably be my next project. Because then after we get out of New Jersey, the next show for me is the IPMS Nationals in Wisconsin, and me and John Sweber, who's friends with me and James, are running a table up there based on race cars, and it'll probably be good. I mean, I have some stuff that I could take up anyway, but it'll probably be good if I actually had some race cars. So I pulled down an AMG, and I pulled a sheet down for it. I pulled out one of my Mustang GT4s, and I pulled down the sheets for it as far as like carbon fiber and stuff. I don't. I know that those cars require a whole heck of a lot of more detail painting than the McLaren will. So the McLaren's sort of like, I can knock this out real quick because James has built enough Fujimi GT3 kits to know that those suspensions are bobs of plastic with some A-arms off the side of them as far as the suspension goes. Like, you could assemble the entire chassis and just spray paint it flat black for all intents and purposes. There's no detail to those kits at all, really. So the biggest thing with that is basically like gluing the side strakes on, because the McLaren 12Cs, for some reason, the whole side of the body, actually I have one. While you guys comment on my lack of actual building anything, I'll grab one. But the 12C bodies are cast in a way, and I don't know why, because it wasn't anything to do with the way the kit's constructed, but they've cast it so that like the whole side of the car is missing.
I think they've cast them that way so they get a clean mold with no mold line. That's what I think. But anyways, James has good intention of building every single one of his 1,000 model kits that he has, but he just needs to get around to it.
Yeah.
So like the whole sides of the cars are cast as a separate piece. And like I said, I've built one of these before, so it's really easy to get these together, but I don't understand why these like tongue depressors were cast into the body rather than the actual sides of the car. It's a very, like, why? why is this dunnage in my model kit? Like, this is something you got to razor saw off here so that you don't like goof up. Now that there are two versions of this kit, and everything basically on the top part of the tooling insert is different on the 2013 cars. They have a different air intake on the nose, and they have a different engine intake on the back. But the parts that go down this assemblage here, they're the same. So I don't know why that was cast that way. Maybe they thought at some point in all that they were going to do, they were going to make a streetcar version of this, and that would, putting a factory stock side to this would have been easier that way, but they never did. So it just made this really odd, body. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's, let's see, one sprue tree, two sprue trees, three trees, four trees to this, and this, this is the whole of the chassis. Yes, this is the whole of the chassis. Like, you have inner fender wells, and these doohickey things in here, that's your suspension components. Like this,
God, I hate
whatever these
Jimmy kits,
whatever these are supposed to be, like that's the suspension to it. And you'll sit here and spend a lot of time going like, oh well, I need to make the steering wheels turn. Well, I don't think the Z4s are any better because I built one of those. The wheels don't turn after you build them. There's so much wheel stuffed up in the wheel wells of these things. They're like, the wheels are straight, and we gave you the steering rod for S&Gs, as it were.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my AMT and MPC kits that are like, with all those parts.
I'll say, because like, there's whole sides. This is just the whole sides get put on, and then there's the inner part, the machinations of this kit, putting the inner part of the well, they're the radiators on the sides there. That's like the biggest thing, and that's really not even a hard thing to fit. The biggest masking issue you'll ever have with this is this engine thingy bobber that's cast into the back deck of the interior. So I mean, once you mask it off, it's not that necessarily that bad.
And then you'll see it through a window about this big.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's quite a bit of.
That's what the brush is for, James.
I know Frank's. Frank's telling me in the comments to get tracking. I know Frank was put out a set of Frank's Model Car Works, put out a set of videos where he was talking about cleaning up models and the tools you use to sort of do the beginning stages, right? Scribers and sanders and all that kind of thing. And made comments about sanding off like ejector pins like that you'll never see. And I was sitting there watching it and going like, no, if I can't see it, I'm not touching it. Sorry, Frank, I can't get on board that train of cleaning up stuff that I'll never see again. And that's that way. Like you could if you didn't need to, and again, carbon fibering it is your own choice, right? But if you didn't need to carbon fiber the top of that front lip spoiler, you could assemble that entire chassis, spray paint the bottom of it some other color so it's not raw plastic, assuming you cared, because really, who's going to turn your model kit over again? And like that's it. Like you just slap that in there. You probably don't have to paint the interior because the interior, the whole of it, roll cage and everything is black, so you're never going to see any of it anyway. Because the McLaren's got windows like this big, you can't see in. I spent a whole bunch of time carbon fibering the interior of the last one, and you can see precisely 0 centimeters of carbon fiber through any of the windows. I know it's there. It looked awesome with the pictures of the interior, but will anyone ever see it again? Nope. Not happening. Thanks for playing the game, but we're unfortunately we've decided to cancel all prizes.
Hey, how out of curiosity, how many models are you guys planning to bring to the NNL?
That's a good question. Let me ponder that for a minute.
Well, so while he's pondering, nothing.
I'm probably going to bring. I have enough space to bring about 10.
10?
I'll probably bring 10.
10?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I've got 100 of their built, so might as well,
Right. And you haven't been there since 20.
I was there last year.
Okay. All right.
But I can bring something different. I can easily find 10 that I didn't bring last time. So.
Okay. What's this you're showing us?
I say, and you guys in Radio Land can't see this, but everybody who's online with us live here, this actually, let's see, proof that I actually built a McLaren 12C at once.
Nice.
Oh, that's your model?
Yep.
That's nice.
I know, right? Who would have thought I could actually build something? It's actually halfway decent, right?
Do you have online, James, somewhere?
What's that?
Do you have all your models online somewhere where somebody could see them if they wanted to look through your collection?
You personally could see them because they're on that Flickr link I sent you, but nah, I think
I'm setting you up for so you can advertise.
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to do there, but like as far like I have stuff on my personal Flickr page, which is mostly police car photography stuff. They're on there so that I can pull them down and post them, but I don't think I actually have them all posted in one place. I think most of them are on like I have a Facebook page called the Stash Project that people are on it, but not really in the sense of like, hey, we're there, but nobody really posts to it anymore, kind of thing. And like they're on there, but because I've got a 318 that I built. I have the 320, and then I've got a Porsche that I don't ever show anyone because that was a 24-hour build, and I managed to goof the clear coat up on that in an epic proportion. It's very, very shiny, but it was a lacquer clear coat over to me a TS metallic black. The metallic sort of like dissipate all over the car. It looks like crap is what it looks like. Like it's very shiny. Like I polished it out. It's a very shiny turd. I'll give you that. But it's not anything I would take anywhere because of the way the paint looks underneath the clear coat.
I think I'll take
the comments. Yes, I do build models, Frank. Yes, I do.
I think I'm going to take the Audi that I just finished, the RS7, the 2 Miku cars that I finished this year, maybe one of the other Alphas, the Porsche or the Ferrari. And since it's a non-competitive event, I can take that Toyota Starlet and maybe the Alazam AZ1. Since I would never take those to a judge contest because even though they're nice models, nobody cares about those at all.
I'm excited to see your Audi in person. It looked great in your YouTube.
Oh, thank you.
And in photos.
Thank you.
Really sharp looking model.
Yeah, I think it's all about the color with that one. I'm digging that color. Sort of a orangey red gold color.
Nice.
And one thing I was desperately searching for on my phone, but I couldn't find. Here's your box art for that. Dotson. So
that's box art. I have to, Tamaya actually has really good art. Their illustrations are nice.
Yeah, I mean, it won't. I know a lot of people like box art sells me a model kit. this won't sell me a model kit because I know what's inside of it and I want it. But yeah, for people who see this just on the shelf, this is a very appealing, to me at least, box art. It's unfortunately not featuring the fact that it's this left-handed drive. I think you could have probably get a little mileage out of that because, like, you know, hey, recent USA. By the way, anybody who's waiting, now that we've talked about it, anybody who's thinking about this, the pre-orders for it in Japan are available. They're saying August, which probably in the way that Tamiya has been distributed. I can't say the word distributing. The way Tamiya is sending their kits out in the mail is has been that they're putting them out to North America first by a couple of weeks. So this will probably be available in the United States in mid-July, I would guess.
Cool.
There's a whole sideshow to that where Tamiya USA. God bless those folks. I mean, they're great people, but they were doing a lot of complaining to the fact that when the kits were being released universally all at one time, people such as myself and Mr. Chester over there would order them through Japan because the price was significantly less. The price now in 2024 to 2020s in general, like the price you pay for the kit plus the shipping ends up being about almost the exact same amount of money as you would pay to buy it at a hobby shop, at least like Betker's, Sir John of the Crush Box, we like to call him. Great example is James Harrow has just ordered some AMGs for his substantial collection of Miku decals recently. And
so this one,
yeah, so that's a $28 kit in Japan, and with shipping, it comes out to what it was, at $39 a piece.
Yes, yeah, it came to $39 a piece, but they're 56
ordering
on
them
Amazon.
Yeah, so ordering them 3 at a time. So it's 56 on Amazon. I think the last time I looked at Betker's stock, he was selling them for 48. So I mean, that's $10 more than you would pay necessarily. But that's an older kit at this point. Usually the price point on the new stuff is pretty comparable. But there was a point in time where, like, when we're going back to like the early 2010s here, where like the Enzo and the LaFerrari came out, those were shelf priced at nearly $90, and you could buy them through Japan for like $35. Even, and then shipping pre-COVID was like $6 or $7 a model kit, and so you could get that to your house for less than $50, and it was like 100% more to support your local hobby shop. And so Tamiya USA threw a huge fit via their distributors here in the United States, said, well, everybody's self-importing the kits and we can't compete. And so there was a two-pronged solution to that problem. One was, hey, maybe since we have a building in California, we could actually not charge like overseas markup on this, because Tamiya used to have a big German division. It's where a lot of those 90s Mercedes and DTM kits come from. Like, if you look at like the 90s and 2000 catalog, there's almost like two parallel Tamiyas operating. There's like a company that makes JDM stuff, and then there's like this whole European wing over here that's making all these Mercedes street car kits and race car kits and all the DTM stuff and all the F1 stuff. And like, there's almost two things. Well, that European division doesn't exist anymore. It's just a group of the Tamiya's biggest vendors, whereas Tamiya still has the Irvine, California headquarters. And so they lowered the price to something that is relatively comparable within a few bucks, to the point where like it doesn't bother me to spend a couple of bucks to support the brick and mortar guy that I want to keep open, because I don't want to order all my paint and crap online. And the other part was, now if you buy the kits through a Hobby Link Japan, Hobby Search, Tokyo Hobby, whatever like eBay vendor you want to try to get stuff through, it comes out like a month later. So you get the people that are like, I need that kit right now, that are going to go to their local hobby shop and they're going to pay a comparable price to the importing. Even though I'm really excited about a lot of things that Tamiya do, I really don't need them right now. So I wait.
Hey, let me ask another question. Is there anything you're hoping to pick up or buy at the NNL?
Without seeing the vendor list, I'm not sure yet. James, go ahead.
Oh God, let me grab the vendor list for Mr. Tester over here before he loses his.
I know C1 Resin's not going to be there, and they got me last year for the where did it go? Here. They got me last year for this Bay Boy.
Oh yeah, that thing's cool.
Yeah, the Spectre truck.
I want one of those.
I was so excited to get it last year. I'm like, I'm going to build it. No, Still have it.
I didn't buy. He had a whole. There's a bunch of whether Land Rovers, a bunch of Land Rovers parts that go to that well, it was branded here in the United States as a monogram kit for whatever reason. Revell decided to do that when they released it here, but for that new tool Revell of Germany, there's that one. There's like a tow truck. There's a couple of other sort of British versions. Obviously, you see ones in the UK, so a lot of British Range Rover, Land Rover stuff going on there. But there's like 6, I think, different versions of that to buy, and I wanted all of them. But knowing that A, I don't need that much resin because I clearly have that much resin already, and B, like I haven't built a stock one. I'm not going to build 6 variants in resin, so I passed on all those. But it's a really cool kit. Like the actual base kit itself is really, really nice. They just released one, I don't know, 6 months ago that has like one big door on the passenger side or something like that. It's a commercial version, where the first one was a 4-door, and this one's like a 2-door with a big back end of it. It's a very, very small, again, very small variation to create a new model kit kind of thing.
Now, last year, Robert Burns from Too Many Models was and showed up with a whole bunch of 3D printed resin body, and I was very tempted to buy some stuff. He's got some really cool bodies, stuff that's just very unique American things that they would never build a kit of. There's not enough demand for it, and yeah, I don't know. I might get tempted into buying something this year if he shows up and I see something. My problem last year was he had so many things, and I'm like, well, I probably can only get one, and I couldn't pick, so I ended up not getting anything. So I was like, and I could see myself probably doing the same thing again this year. You sort of get overloaded with too many choices, and then you can't do anything.
Pull the trigger, right? I did the same thing. I looked at his table. I probably looked over each car twice and just still said,
Yeah. I tell you, I'm a sucker for mid 70s like the Colonnade bodies, the GM and the Buicks, the Oldsmobiles, the Pontiac. I really like the Le Mans, like the 73, 74 Le Mans body style, and he's got them all. And I'm really, I think Jeff Bloom has been working on building one.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know, has he got one pretty far along? Any chance he might be debuting it at NNL?
Jeff?
Yeah.
He's working on something right now. I won't steal his thunder.
All right.
I apologize for the radio audience here, but let's go over the NNL East vendor list here for Mr. Chester, so he knows what he's spending on. Let's see here.
Together.
I'm trying to think if there's anything on this. Looking at this list that I saw, that was anything really exciting other than, like I said, the vendors like Atlantis. Because you can go over their booth and be like, oh, let me take pictures of new stuff for my YouTubes. There's a lot of like personal guys here, just like names of things. I'm not sure what their vendors list what they're probably just selling off their collection kind of thing. But like Detail Masters there, Jimmy Flintstone, that's a haunt of Jimmy's always there. Island Collectibles is the guy that always has like all those Studio 27 and whatnot high-end resin kits laying around. Good to see that Oki's making another appearance with nothing to show for himself there.
I saw that got that new Dodge resin pickup.
Yeah, that's the different Johan. That's the Dayton Johan.
Atomic, right?
Yeah, so now there's 2 of them. Yeah, I'm missing links there. I'm not sure what they've been up to, because a lot of that sort of Detroit resin thing sort of crumbled with the companies that were involved with it.
Monocar Garage has a new Dodge pickup truck photo etch set I saw.
Yeah. Model King, so you can go hang out with your bud.
Dave Burkett.
There's like these are sort of the normal people you kind of expect to be there, because Scale Motorsport will be there. I think
Scale
there's one
Motorsport,
thing from him that I want to pick up, maybe if he actually has it. Yeah. And then, like I said, too many projects, so he'll be back. So you can also
Okay,
Oh, good.
So
I know.
so he'll be back with all his resin stuff again. So everybody can go over there and think to myself, man, if I had an interior and a chassis, I'd buy one of those just people. So it'll be
I tell you, the thing that has scared me about the too many resin
it's just the
kits is the lack of the windows. It's actually
You know how to vacuum form though.
yeah, but I don't have the equipment to do it at home very efficiently or
Okay.
high quality standard. So yeah, I mean, it's doable, right? He provides a buck with his kits. It's
Right.
the effort. It's like I know if I bought that, it will sit in a box because there's 400 other things that I could build more efficiently and faster and easier. And but he's got some really cool stuff that you just can't get any other way. So
Right. Right. Tim Custom asked, no replica miniatures. Do they sell anymore at shows?
I don't know.
Huh. I think it was what was the other one that used to carry the high end uh, resin stuff? HRM, Historic Racing Miniatures.
Hmm.
They usually have a table set up.
Yeah, yeah, they made a lot of nice stuff. I think they were there last year. I kind of remember seeing a table from those guys.
Yeah, because I have one of their Ferrari engines. It's like it was a replica miniatures kit. Really, really nice.
Nice. I got another NNL question for you guys. Is there
Okay.
any other model or model builder that you're hoping will show up so you can see their work?
Oh man. Wow, James. um, I would like to
was
see Marcos Cruz again. He builds great models and he's a good guy. But I only get to see him at that show. So Marcos Cruz, if you're out there, looking forward to seeing you, buddy.
I know that I've heard that name. Refresh my memory. What model, what kind of genre of models does he typically build?
Um, Usually muscle cars
Okay.
and some sports cars.
okay, Marcos builds a little bit of everything. He's not really
Yeah,
a one genre kind of person.
right.
You know, I was impressed last year. There's a very large contingency of heavy truck builders that go to the NNL East.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
Semis. I mean, usually you go to a show and you'll see a dozen or so, but the NNL East, I mean, there was easily 100 or more of like just large semi trucks and heavy equipment. In I don't know the builder's name, but last year there was somebody that had some really cool scratch built like construction equipment. It was just some of those things like really impressed me just because of the modeling skill. I mean, just to build something completely from scratch, not even a kit. Um,
right.
it's I don't know. I get sucked into like really studying how those things get built. It's not something that I'd like aspire to build myself, but I really appreciate the modeling
Right.
craftsmanship and I spend more time probably studying how those trucks get built than I will look at muscle stuff like that just because I like the detailing on them.
Yeah. I think I'm done with muscle cars for a little while.
What?
I've been, yeah, I know. I've been building a lot of sports cars and JDMs, and
You have?
that's kind of where I'm at right now.
But you're due for a muscle car now.
What? Tim Customs coming to NNL East? Rock on.
Awesome. Stop by and say
Rock
hi.
on. Yeah, I definitely want to meet you, Tim.
For folks who are at NNL East, we have little business cards made up that say we want to talk to you about your model. That we will be should we not get so busy that we forget to put them out in the first place, but that at least my goal is just to divvy them up between all three of us. And if we see something that we would like to talk to the builder, you have your opportunity. Should you not be necessarily technology incompetent or really camera shy, to possibly be interviewed on a future podcast. So, that's something to look out for. You can just take it and throw it in the trash if you couldn't care less what we think of you. But it is my intention because I know that because we'll talk about shows this month. I know if Sean gets the shows that neither one of us do. Obviously, I'm going to Wisconsin for IPMS Nats, and neither one of these two, as far as I know, are making that trek. James should, so he could bring all his Miku stuff and hang out with me and Weber. We have I have a table. I have chairs. So
it's a long way to go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, I say one of the things that because I've starting to recruit like people who can be with us at the table, so we can actually see stuff and not be chained to that table for 4 days straight. Is like I have at the the largest model show, all genre model show that is on 3 floors of a building. I have the most desirable extra you could want, a chair. Because that them chairs are the whatever little chairs there'll be for in the public areas will get camped out on, and you'll never be able to sit down again. You'll be standing and walking the whole time. But if you have a display table, I've got 3 chairs, so I have some place to sit and hide. But if I actually buy it, I don't think I bought anything. No, that's not true. I bought airplanes one year, but I haven't really bought anything at IPMS Nationals because there's usually not that many car guys. Now, Model Empire will be there. So that might be because there has to be a car vendor, maybe. But I'd say I for people on the actual audio podcast, they'll never know. I disappeared for half a second there because my internet crapped out, so I didn't answer the question. As far as going to NNL East and buying anything, I don't believe there's anything coming right this instant that would be something I'd want to purchase. There are a few kits that exist, like the 54 pickup truck. That is something that's not currently in the Revell catalog. I sold my original monogram kit a little while ago, thinking I could go grab the Revell kit, and apparently no, I can't. So there's a few little odds and ends like that I would pick up because I still want the model. I just didn't want the 30-year-old model with the wreck decals. And the Revell, when they re-released that in the, I don't know what that, it was in the truck series most recently, but like they put like extra bits and pieces in for like for the engine and stuff like that, and I wanted those speed parts, and they weren't in the original like completely factory stock monogram kit that came out back in
Rat Think one.
No, it's when it was released originally, it came in one of those great big monogram boxes. For whatever reason they made those almost Tamiya sized boxes on stuff for a little while. And there was that one, and then they did like kind of a custom lowrider version. And I think that's where the speed parts of the flathead came from. And then they released it back in a regular size box as like a yellow truck on the box art. And I thought that John had one laying around when I sold the original one, but like I want the speed parts, the engine custom parts. Really, pretty much the only thing I wanted. I should have bought the kit and then sold the other one, but there's that. There's a couple things like that. The guy who runs, like I said, Scale Collectibles on Long Island. One of these years, I'm going to break down and buy one of those Aston Martin 124 scale Model Factory Hero kits that he keeps trolling out there. The price on them is like alpha model priced, and at this point the kit's 10 years old and it's probably worth more than that. But the decals are now also 10 years old, so I don't know if I want to really fight with that. Maybe I could probably get replacements, but anyway, there's still 1 or 2 alpha model kits that I wouldn't mind picking up if somebody had some, but that is really outside the wheelhouse of what NNL East is vendor wise. Probably nobody's gonna have those. And then it's pretty much just after that. So there's a few things, because the next thing we'll hop into here's the kits coming out in May. There's a couple of May releases that I want to grab, but they won't be out obviously because we're talking about a show that starts here and before the end of April. And beyond that, I want to meet Frank from Frank's Model Works, George Ramos. What is what is that? Christ, I can't go to his YouTube channel. Is now it's like Vision 124. I've been hanging out with him every year, but I go out there and a couple other shows around the East Coast. He's a great guy. Somebody I've already talked about dragging on here for interviews, so I talked to him about getting him on here. But he builds a lot of the stuff that we've sort of merged. I keep pointing in the wrong direction. We've merged James into over here. It's still the wrong direction. James over here. in sense of like the Rocket Bunny and Liberty Walk stuff, and he builds a lot of that accented, if you will, JDM stuff, and so he'll be a good guest for that stuff, and builds just a lot of cool stuff. He builds the one that built the like the custom Herbie Volkswagen that won down at Acme a couple of years ago. So super talented builder, super nice guy, and so yeah, I'll be there pretty much to just hang out with people. There's a lot of like James said, there's a lot of people I see at that show, and that's pretty much it. Like I don't see them the rest of the year. So reconnect with everybody.
How many times have you guys that show?
This year would be the fifth year I've been. I've been to every one since COVID. I was at the year before COVID, and then I went to like 2014, I think, or 2016, somewhere a number of years ago. Back to actually might have been earlier than that. I think we hadn't actually had our younger kids yet, so that would be at least 11 years ago. Figure out the math on that.
I think I've probably been to 7 or 8 East so far. Nice. And I did think of a kit that I want to look for. a Tamiya Honda Fit. It's a tiny little car, and they haven't reissued it since 2000, I think. So it's
planned for it, or do you just want it?
Yeah, actually, I do. I was showing you earlier the decals. It's
nice.
It's a Itasha car. So yeah.
What that means, but
they're the anime girls. So I have the decals to make an anime car out of a Honda Fit. So I want a Honda Fit.
Very cool.
I think you're underselling, James. What does the Ithaca really mean, though? It's because there's an actual meaning.
Okay. All right. So the word is Itasha, Itasha, and what it really means is pain car. So it's painful to look at for the Japanese people, and so that's why they do it. It's almost like a teenage thing, to make your car as brash as you possibly can. And they're doing it with anime, and they're just wrapping their cars and making them real loud to just say F the system. So that's really what it means. Is Itasha means pain car, painful to look at.
This show is educational. Learn something new every day.
So that's my favorite aspect of that. It's pain car.
That's true of teenagers all around the world, I must say.
Yeah.
Inflicting pain.
Yeah. So before we get into the next segment, before we started the podcast, Sean and I were talking about decals and the difference between a good set of decals and a not so good set of decals. So Sean, can you take it away and kind of refresh what we were talking about?
Yeah, well, we were talking about, and it just came about because I was asking about the decal sets that you're showing, and I think recently on your YouTube channel you're showing some of your anime ones, and I forget the name of the guy who makes those.
Miniature.
Okay, and I was saying it looked like those were silkscreen versus a 4-color process printing style, and the difference is, so silkscreen, like typically the kind of decals you get from Cartograph or like a high-end cart, each particular color is a separate screen or pass with the printing press, and they actually use actual PMS inks or paint, and when they lay down the colors, it's solid. So you get you can get fluorescence, you can get metallics, you can get accurate color matching, versus like in a standard, the standard kit, those are typically done in a 4-color process printing style. So it's the same as you print like your inkjet printer at home. There's cyan, yellow, magenta, and black, and they mix the colors, and you can, if you look close enough with like a magnifying glass, you'll actually see a dot pattern, and it's
okay.
Your that's how they mix the colors and create a full rainbow of colors, but just with 4 colors. So it's called 4-color process printing, and it's never quite as accurate or sharp as what you get with silkscreen. But it's a cheaper, more efficient process. It's most mass-produced kits have 4-color process printing done for the decal sheets, but the high-end manufacturers like Cartograph and some others, they'll do the silkscreen. That's so that you get the more accurate.
Now, Fred, if you remember, Fred Cady used to do silkscreen, but he only did one color at a time.
And so he did real old school, like actual, screens. um, yeah, this was done more the way you do your t-shirts, like the high-end printing manufacturers today that do silkscreen printing, especially like decal sheets. That's a lot more sophisticated process. But it's essentially the same as what Fred Cady used to do. For those of you,
I'd really be interested to see
right.
one of these days the way they make them.
Yeah, I'm sure you can YouTube and see all kinds of. Somebody somewhere has got a tour of their thing. But
J.K. Chapman says raised decals are coming along. Anyone tried them? Those are Alps printed, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? Have you ever seen raised decals?
I couldn't say for sure. They appear to be something similar to an Alps print. I don't know if they're Alps specifically.
Okay.
There's some laser printing out there now that will actually print like white and can print some metallic colors, and
okay, all right.
They can print on some a wide variety of substrates, wood, glass, all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
So it might be something similar to that. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the one huge drawback to 4-color processing is the fact that it doesn't print metallics. Spot Model has a feature on their website called Print Lab, where if you do your own vector graphics and you draw your own decal sheets, they'll print them for you. And they have a fairly high-end 4-color processing machine over there where it'll actually die cut, if you will, print the clear coat over it. So it's not just a whole clear coat over the entire sheet like you see with a lot of the not necessarily, because some of the guys who print 4-color processing are, printing pretty high end, but I call them homebrew decals because you got to cut the whole decal out. It doesn't because the whole sheet is one giant clear coat, and so that their 4-color processing will print like the individual decals, like you get on a commercial decal sheet, which is a nice feature. But I found as I was doing a lot of, I like to make this design, I like to make that design, I like to make this design kind of thing. Man, a lot of that stuff is silver, and you can't print silver on that. You end up with a metallic gray, or gold becomes brown, and the only sort of printer that will print, other than the high-end laser stuff, is Alps, and Alps printers don't exist anymore. So now you're constantly buying old Alps printers to take them apart to get pieces off of them, or you go to screen printing, and like the step up in that is huge because screen printing requires a minimum run to do the offset to set up the screen print. So, the print lab will print you a sheet of decals, and depending on how if you're making it sort of commercial or if you're making it for yourself, how you stick everything on there, you can make several projects worth on an A5 piece of paper. But you're never gonna get anything metallic out of that. And Hasegawa's like that. Their in-house stuff is very, very much CYMK, which is why those decals are so damn thick and hard to use. And like none of their stuff is really metallic. It's sort of, you don't see a lot of them doing a lot of really, silvery decals where everything's a color because again, it doesn't print those things. And there's a couple places in China, obviously, because Lao uses it, SK uses it, Meng uses it, and Hobby Design uses it. And then there's Cartograph, and there's another company there called, I think it's Zanchetti, that Revell also uses for parts of their decals to do their screen printing. That's like, oh, we can print gold foil, we can print all the stuff. I mean, China, for example, James just showed those decals for the Meng where half the sheet's chrome purple. So,
right.
That printing can do almost anything at this point. It's a question of how much money do you want to pay for it, because that chrome purple is, I'm sure, a small fortune. Well, that decal should cost more than I think anything else he's done at this point. But you really can do almost anything with cartograph level screen printing. It's a question of how, because I've working with Frankie and working with Lau and design stuff like that. I've gotten the pricing for this stuff, and you usually get white underlay and then 4 colors on a sheet. Which, if you start looking at your decal sheets you have at home, you start realizing like stuff broken up. Like this sheet has everything black and everything blue and everything red on it, and this other sheet has everything yellow and everything because like it's been split apart.
That makes sense.
If you put that design say 4 times on an A5, you can just cut it apart, and then you put the other design 4 times on an A5, cut it all apart, and then you combine the two together, and now you have your decal set. Whereas if you printed all of those colors on one decal sheet, it would cost more. Plus, you'd start getting an ink buildup. It's like using those Studio 27 carbon fiber decals. They're super nice because they're metallic and the twill, but they're very, very thick, and they're very, very hard to get conformed around the corners and stuff like that. So it's I wish there was a better solution to that. Like, we can make 3D printing so you can print your whole house. Can I just get something where I can print some decals? That'd be awesome.
Or that, and I've talked to Round 2 about this a little bit of time. I know it's something they're interested in doing too, is to figure out how to get a matte finish on muscle cars. They often print, back in the 60s and 70s, they had flat black or graphics, and like the new Demon kit, that'd be a perfect opportunity to do like a flat black
for the hood. Yeah, for the hood.
And it's apparently nobody has figured out how to do this well yet. So there's an opportunity out there, I think, for somebody to figure out how to do.
Yeah, I think the best way to tackle that is to use the decal as a mask to paint flat black. That's probably the only way to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely a need in the market, I think.
And I think that the issue with that is, I think one of the primary issues with that is the fact that it's very hard to print 2 different clear coats on one sheet. Oh. So you'd almost have to design it so that your flat black sheet with a matte clear coat on it will be one run, and then all the rest of your decals will be another thing, and that's an expense thing, right? Because now you're printing twice as many decals for one project.
Yeah, there must be some way to do it, because I have seen matte, matte clear on different sort of printed substrates. So there must be a way to do it. Just haven't seen it done on a decal sheet yet.
And I also see like the vinyl wraps, that they're putting on cars, that I think that those could make it to model cars someday too, where you just like like those Salvino's cars sometimes are almost like a wrap of vinyl, aren't they?
Yeah,
James?
They sold some.
They did one car that actually had a vinyl wrap in it, but it came out that the decals basically wound up being like press and stick stickers, right? They weren't really vinyl in the sense of like wet the car, put the vinyl wrap on it, and get a hairdryer out and suck it down to the they would put that kind of stuff in there, but then people would melt their models with the hairdryer. So. Sorry guys, I have no faith in you out there. This right here, it's going to be a little pixelated, but this is actually the sheet of decals I drew up for the Tamiya Toyota TS050, the
spaceship looking one, right?
Yes, I say the prototype. There's a was it LMPH, I guess is what the category is. But yeah, so this decal sheet, if I can figure out where the heck I would put it. Yeah, so what I did here is I drew out the headers. This makes the car something other than Le Mans, right? So the Le Mans decals that are in there don't have the DHL number placard headers for the rest of the season. They don't have the little WEC, the World Endurance Challenge Championship stickers for them. To me, it didn't pay licensing, so they don't have any tire decals. And then they were missing like a couple, 3 different little associate placard sponsored for Ace and transmissions. And Mitsubishi Electric, I can understand that perhaps that Toyota didn't want to license Mitsubishi products on their on their model kit, but in real life they use Mitsubishi electronics in the race car, so I guess I don't know, deal with it. But yeah, I mean that's I could put they're staggered on there, but it'll print out 3 of those per sheet. But I have them for me, but I offered them out there. Hey, well, no, I offered them out there. I'm like, hey, I can print these for you, and everybody was like, they're not screen printed. They're CYMK. I don't want those.
James,
all right.
What program are you using to create your artwork in?
Adobe Illustrator.
Okay.
It's Adobe or Corel. Pick a poison. I mean, I know there's GIMP and all those free programs like that, but
I didn't realize you had a graphics art background.
I have precisely 0 graphics art background, but I can sit there and watch YouTube videos and beat myself over the head with a hammer until I figure stuff out. I mean, that sheet of decals probably took me 2 weeks to draw, because I find Adobe Illustrator is easy to understand once you understand what it wants you to do. It's very input specific, right? I could learn how to paint, but it's not going to do me any good in Adobe Illustrator because there's so many stacking layers on top of layers and
right.
I'm not drawing this as much as I'm making a bunch of shapes and then putting them on top of one another to make a picture, kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot to learn. There's sort of an art and science to figuring out how to create a decal sheet based on the process that's going to be printed, so that there's traps and stuff that have to be set so the ink you don't because of the registration, if you're going to do silk screen or
that's deep now, Sean.
There's like a whole another level of, it's more than just the artwork that has to be created. It's also how it's set up so it prints properly based on the process that you're doing. There's like a whole nother level of expertise that's needed. I wouldn't say I know it well, but I know I got myself into trouble before and had to spend a lot of time going back and changing things because I didn't know it had to be done a certain way.
That's a lot of here's my design, and then they look at it and kick it back to you and go, no, no, that's not going to work. Do this instead. Oh, okay. Fiddle. How about that? Yeah, okay, that'll print. Awesome. Cartograph will do the same thing for you, but I think that's an extra $500 on top of your order if you don't know how to.
Some people that you work with or some vendors, they'll do that they call it production work, making it production ready. They'll either bake that into the price and do it for you, or you can, if you deliver camera ready art or press ready, that sometimes there's a saving, sometimes not. But
I think Mako had that same kind of deal going. you could bring your car to them ready to paint.
Save some on. I once took a 1986 Ford Crown Victoria to a shop ready to fix because I was trying to replace the heater core and I couldn't get it out, so the whole thing was disassembled.
Does anybody ever have any of you guys ever take a car to Mako to get it painted?
Yeah. I don't think I could have ever afforded it back then, and even though it was only $99, $100 was a big deal to me back then. But
I was coughing fit there, but the reason why I took that apart and took it to them was the engineers at Ford, and this is a problem actually with a number of Ford products. They made it so that they bolted the I know nobody cares about this, but they bolted the heater core in and then put the actual firewall over top of it. So in order to get the bolts to take the heater core out, you literally, and this is what the shop did, you had to heat up a piece of pipe and punch it through the plastic part of the firewall from the outside to access the bolts on the inside. There was physically no way to take that apart otherwise. So I took the whole dashboard apart. I took everything apart in that car trying to get the heat, because the heater core comes literally, when it comes out from the inside from behind the dashboard. But you couldn't get to the bolts without going through without punching holes in the firewall. It's an awesome engineering feat. Somebody at Ford was paid, a nearly 6-figure salary to figure out how to assemble that car in a magic way that could not be taken apart once you actually, had gotten it put together. Years afterwards, I bought another Crown Vic because they're cheap cars, and I just when the heater core went out, I put a bypass so that it was not part of the ventilation system anymore. I froze myself to death in the wintertime, but I wasn't going through that.
Right, buy a new Crown Vic than it is to go through all the hassle of fixing it.
Well, I mean, when Crown Vics, especially the 80s and 90s, were coming out of police department auctions, you could pick those things up for like $500 back in the day. Like that was a really cheap, and that car would last forever kind of proposition.
Because they maintained them.
I would say that was my teenage years. I bought a 1986 Crown Victoria. It was black, looked just like the car from Men in Black, which was an awesome thing in of its own right. And it was a 5th District street crimes car from the city of Cleveland. I don't remember what the mileage had on it, but literally had like 8 coats of paint on it. When you opened every door was different when you opened it. It wasn't because there were different doors. It was just because it had been painted so many times. Because the way you're sneaky in a Crown Vic with a spotlight and pipe and hubcaps was to paint the car a different color, because no one will figure that out. And that car lasted me probably, I don't know, 5-6 years. I mean, I put 200,000+ miles on that car living in Cleveland. And it literally was a tank. I mean, it was an 86 car. It's all sheet metal. So it was a full-on body frame tank of a vehicle. It lasted forever.
Nice.
Right.
That makes me wonder, what was the first car that you guys ever owned? First real car?
First real car I ever owned was a 1990 Chevy S10 L. L stood for loser, you ain't got no options. Vinyl floor, vinyl seat, no power steering, no air conditioning. Stick with that old Iron Duke 85 horse little 4-banger they put in those things. That was another vehicle I just beat the ever living tar out of. Had that problem that GM had in those years where the paint peeled off. So that car was dark blue originally. It was mostly light blue primer color by the time I ended up blowing the transmission out of it for a second time and got rid of it.
I had one of those. It was not my first car, but it was actually probably one of the most reliable I ever had. I had an 86 S10, almost exactly how you described it. Iron Duke, no, manual brakes, manual steer, trans, no air conditioning. It's like basically what you'd buy as a parts chaser at a parts store. Mine was a short bed though. There was the first car I ever had. I had a '68 Chevelle.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, not a cool Super Sport. Mine was just a grandma Malibu with a straight 6 and light metallic green.
Of course.
But it was a Chevelle, so that was kind of cool. How about you?
Mine was a 71 Mustang notchback. And you say, oh, wow, I bet it was nice. No, it wasn't. Every single panel was rusted beyond belief. And it had been backed into a telephone pole. It had a 2x4 holding the driver's seat up. There was Fred Flintstone floor on the passenger side. It was bad. It was really bad. But it was my first car, and I loved it.
Nice. V8?
Yeah, 351.
Nice. 4-barrel?
Yes.
4-speed?
No, automatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that a 4-barrel V8.
So yeah, I did a lot of burnouts in that car. A lot of them.
My Chevelle met an untimely death. It was, I think I had about 6 months before I wrapped it around a tree. So that got replaced by a '77 Z28.
Ooh.
My high school car. Again, like yours, like your Mustang, sounds cooler than it really was. Mine was full of rust and it was pretty well worn and trashed by the time I got it. But it was cool. It had a V8. It did burnouts.
Yeah. Yeah,
Born-
I mean, it was a 1971 in 1985, and it was done. You know, that was a 14-year-old car. That car was done here in Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I think that would have been, my car was just 7 or 8 years old when I had it too, and it was, yeah, used up, thrown away. It was trash, and it probably had like 70,000 miles on it when I bought it. It wasn't
Yeah. They,
cars from the 70s. Not.
for those of you who are not in the Rust Belt here, they use the salt from the lakes to melt the snow and ice on the roads, and so that eats our cars alive here.
Yeah, that was
We're allowed to have rust on our cars here in Ohio, but over in Pennsylvania, you have to fill your cars with Bondo so that you can't have any visible rust spots.
You can have visible surface rust. You just can't have rust through.
Oh, okay. All right.
If you've got holes, the holes need to be repaired, which is always fun because people move here from a state that with no state inspections. You know, "Oh, this thing got me through 5 winters." Well, it will now. Put a new bed on it. You know, I'm not spending that money. Well, I don't know what to tell you. At least you don't live in like Pittsburgh where we have emissions checks. That old hoopty ain't never passing that smog check.
Yeah, we still have not suspension, emissions tests here in Cleveland too.
I thought they did away with Ohio e-check because of all the corruption behind the process that involved
They
it.
don't charge for it anymore. It's free, but they still have it.
Yeah, so that got implemented right before I, moved out, and then I can remember got flunked on a car because my gas cap didn't seal properly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I had to drive down to AutoZone, buy a gas cap, throw it on, have them suction test it, then take it back. For a while there, the places around the e-check stations would rent you a gas cap. They would just be like, $5, take it over there, pass your e-check, bring it back.
All right, another question for you. What was the
All
most
right.
car you've ever had?
The most what?
Most favorite car you've ever owned?
Oh man, I was just talking to my son about this the other day. I had a 1991 Pontiac Sunbird with a 3.1 liter V6 with a manual, and I had that car for over 10 years. I loved that car. It was just, I loved it. It wasn't I mean, it wasn't fast or but just rowing those gears, and that was like my first stick shift car.
Nice.
Favorite car. I got it roadworthy, but I never actually restored it because I was 23 and I had more dreams than brains at the time. But I found down in Virginia a 1977 Plymouth Grand Fury. It was an old Virginia State Police car. 77 Grand Fury. It's a 440 with a torque flight in it. That once I got that thing back on the road, you stepped on it. It was definitely a gallon per mile type of transaction. But like you step on it, back half of that carb would open up and whoa, and off you went because that it was a pursuit vehicle. It took off and went. It was I ended up selling it to a guy who restored it. It was unmarked car, so it was black, and he restored it as an unmarked car. And the last time I talked about it, he wanted 25 grand for it, which is probably what it's worth. But I only paid $400 for that car. Put it on the back of a U-Haul, literally a U-Haul with a U-Haul trailer, and drug it up from Charlottesville, Virginia.
Nice. I have I currently have a Honda S2000, but prior to that, I had a 94 Mazda Miata R, and I used that for autocross, and I had that for 14 years. I have to say that was probably the most favorite of the cars that I've owned. It wasn't particularly fast, but just super fun to drive, and had a very vintage, like MG sort of feel. And that it met an untimely death. It got T-boned through an intersection. A guy ran a red light, hit me on the passenger side. So that car died. But had it not, I probably would still own that car today because I had no intention of ever getting rid of it. It was a great car. Really enjoyed it.
All right, guys. So let's plow through real quick. Other than the NNL East, if I can actually get through this without choking to upcoming shows. So up in the Great White North in Kingston, Ontario, Sunday, May 26, 2024, you have the 2024 Kingston Modelrama NNL. Flyers on the screen here. For anything we talk about as far as the graphics on here, if you're listening to this back on a podcast, we have a Facebook page called the Automotive Podcast. For folks watching this live, there's nothing on it right now, but there will be as we do these shows. But these flyers, stuff like that, will be posted to that Facebook page. We have the NNL North 26, Sunday, May 19th at the Bloomington Event Center in Bloomington, Minnesota. I know our good friend, Mr. Zweber, will be at this one. So one of those that I like to get to someday, although Minneapolis is a little bit of a trek to be just tootling off to. We have the 10th Annual Spring Thaw Model Show, Sunday, May 5th at the Willowvale Fire Company in Chadwicks, New York, if you are in the upstate New York area. In the Pacific Northwest, you have the Scale Auto Builders Association, SABA, Pacific Northwest Model Car Fest at the Holiday Inn in Portland, Oregon. Apparently a really, really good show in the Northwest, from what I understand. Theme this year is the 1934 Ford pickup. Their Best in Show award winner gets one of those gallery airbrushes. Depending on who you talk to on the gallery reviews, that may be a prize or not. You have upcoming May 11th, speaking of Marco Cruz, this is his club, the Mid-Atlantic NNL, the Mamas Boys. This will be at the Level Volunteer Fire Company in Havre de Grace, Maryland. A nice Mid-Atlantic show for folks who are in the area. I'd love to be able to get down to this, but again, I'm on a situation where I work on Saturdays, and I can only take so many weekends a year off. Also, on a weekend a little closer to home, the 2024 Cincinnati Challenge, May 4th, at the Union Elementary School in Westchester, Ohio, which is technically not even Cincinnati at that point. That's Hamilton County. But that's supposedly always a good show, too. Sean, have you gone to that?
I have Cincinnati Challenge. Yeah, back in the day. It's been a long time. But yeah, I should put that on my list.
Let's say food truck on premises. That's always a good time. Let me see if there's anything else. That's the end of the graphics. So stop sharing. On the IPMS calendar, you could always go to the events on the IPMS page for this. May 4th, you have Model Mania 2024 in Stafford, Texas. That's Houston area. Let's see here, a bunch of non-IPMS, but you get North Shore Con 2024 in Peabody, Massachusetts on May 18th. MossCon 2024 in Springfield, Missouri, also the 18th. Also the 18th, the Spring in the Pines annual contest and swap meet in Eagle River, Wisconsin, and the CalMex show, which is held in Sulphur, Louisiana, which is the town over towards the Texas-Louisiana border. The IPMS SilverCon 2024 in Sacramento, California, Best of the West. By the way, James, if we ever needed an excuse to go to a model show, Best of the West, great show in Las Vegas. They held the IPMS Nats back in the day, but they hold an annual show. So Best of the West is in Las Vegas, run by Jay Bergeron and Joe Porche, great guys that I know from the IPMS circuit. I really would like to go to that show because it's a cheap, easy excuse to go to Vegas for a weekend. And that also, all those are May 18th. May 25th, you have 2024 Scale Fest in Grapevine, Texas. So Dallas area there, the Smoky Mountain ModelCon in Knoxville. And we'll toss this one in because it's basically the way May is running out this year. June 1st, the San Diego Model Expo contest and swap meet in El Cajon, California. That's another show, at least on the West Coast, that is very well respected by a lot of the West Coast guys that I know. Big car turnout for that. It's held in an annex to the not Miramar, but one of the Navy bases down there. So you get a model show in an airplane hangar, basically, which is always cool. I don't build airplanes, but I do appreciate them. So hanging out in an airplane hangar always a good time.
Did I hear an idea for a live automotive podcast from Las Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, it is my, for anybody who cares, it's my full intention to actually have a table at NNL East next year to have on-site recording, and again, chairs.
Nice.
Because I love the IPM, I love the NNL East, but after about 2:00, you walk that lap around the building, And it's like, I could sit on these rock hard bleachers over here, or go like sit out in my car for half an hour and be antisocial, or I could stand here some more. Yeah. Chairs.
Right.
It's always a good time.
I was looking through some of the comments of people's favorite cars. Shout out to Craig's Corner. It sounded like he had a really cool, was it 85 Thunderbird Turbo Coupe? Nice. Tim's Custom sounds like he had a pretty sweet, or 68 Impala.
Oh, wow.
And I saw that Frank's Model Works favorite car was a 96 white Bronco, which I'm guessing he must have bought from OJ.
Yeah. Right.
I saw the guy that owns OJ's Bronco wanted to sell it now that OJ passed away, and he wants a ridiculous amount of money for it, of course.
No,
No thanks.
probably
All right, so
famous Bronco ever.
yes, let's wrap up this with the May kits real quick. I know real quick is a relative term for me because I'm going to sit here and blather about stuff. But all righty. So starting over round 2, I don't know, Sean, you can claim any box art here that I don't actually know that you did. But the Make releases, we're going to get another. It's been a while since the custom version of this kit's been out. So the 57 Chrysler 300 Custom.
I did. That's one of mine.
All right, so Sean's gonna get 2 claims this month. This kit, I think the last time the custom parts were out by themselves was back when this kit was originally done back in the late 90s. I think the custom parts were in one of the RC2 era kits, but everybody's been, oh, that kit was just done. The factory stock kit doesn't have the custom parts in it, and I think it's 14 years since the custom parts were out last. So that's, again, one of those things where like a whole generation of modelers have never seen this kit. So I know a lot of people like the hubcaps in this. Yeah, it's custom in the sense of late 90s Erdl, where there was some money but not a lot of it, and we're going to make a second version of this kit by spending the least amount of it possible. Yeah, all right. It's
it's a Mueller era kit. Those are
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, it's a great kit itself. It's just not really that custom. I mean, the grill and the wheels, and that's pretty much it.
The wheels in that are Kelsey Hayes.
Yep.
Or factory. A little bit of trivia about that box art. So they had asked me to do some sort of diner in the background, and that I sort of made up my own design and my own idea for the Atomic drive-in. But since that came out, they got inspired and they decided they wanted to do a series of kits with famous drive-ins in the background.
Oh, cool.
And I actually just this weekend completed my 3rd box art with a drive-in in the background. So that's the first of several more you're going to see coming your way.
Very
awesome.
Cool.
Very cool. All right, so next up, Boss Nova. First time this has been around for a little while. For anybody who wondered why they retooled a 63 Nova station wagon, this is what happened to the original tooling to the 63 Nova station wagon. It got turned into this drag racing thing. So, yeah, I mean, this is the type of kit that I know a lot of folks of I don't want to say certain demographic because it sounds insulting, but I know there's a lot of people that are like, Boss Nova. Like, yeah, okay. Me personally, I'm not impressed, but I know a lot of people like this stuff. So I'm all for things that sell model kits to the folks out there. And then we're gonna get another reissue of
one of those. I thought they're pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's for cool. I'm not a drag racing guy. That's my problem. Like I appreciate it, but at the same time, it's like, I can't. Kenworth K123 cab over tractor. For anybody who watches my channel, you know that they released a golf liveried trailer like 3 months ago. So this is the tractor to pull it. Should you be so inclined, it's the first time in almost 15 years the Kenworth 123 has been out. So it's, I don't know. I picked one up at Ollie's for like $10 or something like that. So while I appreciate that this kit hasn't been out for a while, it's also not the most hard thing to find because clearly the last time it didn't sell all that well. But yeah, that's coming back out there for folks that enjoy the life experience that is building a 1970s AMT truck kit. And then Sean's other box art, the one that I actually knew about, is the reissue with a few new parts in it. Bonneville grill, new 8-lug wheels that actually have open lugs and a wheel cover, so you can choose to put the wheel cover on or leave them bare for or what they're calling center caps. I call them lug caps, whatever. So it's a reissue of their 62 Pontiac Catalina 421 Super Duty. It does include the custom parts in it because much like a lot of those like last gen Mueller kits, there was a vaguely custom version of this kit that was done along with, of course, the stock version and a drag version. I think stock was always kind of like towing the line of reality there because like you could buy a Catalina 421 over the counter, but man, that was an awful lot of car to be driving down the road at one, out with license plates on it. That's like a Hemi Dart where it's street legal, barely.
That's a replica of an actual car too, the Tin Indian.
Yep.
Actual drag car back in the day, and the reason that they tooled up those wheels and the grill was to make an accurate version of that car.
Oh, I'll be darned.
I literally just sold my original one because I'm going to pick this one up. One of those make kits that ain't going to be out in time for NNL, but it's something that I'll grab because this is just like Mueller kits. It's a super nice model kit. But we've talked about in the past like my whole thing about 90s era AMT kits is a thing. So other people may not agree, but I love those kits. It's what I sort of grew up on.
Me too.
All right, let's see what else. One kit that sort of falls into the crevice between a vendor and a producer is this. There's going to be another one of these asphalt modified cars by Wes's Model Car Corner. These are tooled up and produced by Salvino's JR. Wes down North Carolina paid the freight to have this done, so it has his name on it and SJR with the sort of assist, the off the turnbuckle, off the top ropes there with the assist. Supposedly there's new tooling involved in here. I don't know exactly what those are. I meant to watch one of Wes's because Wes does a live stream, I think, on Thursdays. I meant to watch one to see what was new about these, but if you guys know in the comments, mention it. We'll mention it before we leave here. But otherwise, these are cool, I guess. We had a local short track here to me, and they did the asphalt modifieds, and I'm very much I like to know what the car is kind of guy. Why I like GT3 racing and touring car racing. It looks like the car that it really is. It's a Mustang. Okay, sure
What?
it is. I guess. Yeah, I don't think it really is, but I'm just saying. A lot of those modifieds, like it's a Chevy, it's a Ford, it's a Chrysler, it's a bunch of sheet metal hanging off of a tube frame is what it is. It's very cool. They go real fast. They make a lot of noise. It's real fun to watch, but I can't tell what the car is.
Right.
Yeah, it's just
the red one. I want the red one to win.
Yeah, I say that's just a personal preference. I know I'm being ridiculous about it, but yeah. So good on Wes to because there have been a few little minor rumblings here and there about things that didn't fit with that kit. So hopefully they've addressed those with the new parts. Over at Revell, Sean, I can't blame you for this, but I wouldn't want to. You'd be responsible for this model kit in general, let alone the box art for it. Shooting straight out of the 1970s here. This 77 Chevy Street pickup.
Yeah.
For guys who are old enough to remember, came out. I don't remember when this came out originally, but my brush with this was in the Hot Rod series of kits that came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
This is. They've retooled or newly tooled Champ 500 wheels, I guess, so that they fit some existing tires because this was a kit that had 2-part plastic tires in the past. Unless you really, really want one of these, we're just mentioning it as a warning because there really needs to be a series of square body Chevy pickup trucks. Like there's a bunch of Revell and Monogram kits. Some of them are the quote unquote wrong scale and stuff like that. But like this is really the front suspension on this is a hot mess. It shares a cab componentry with like the snap type truck. So like the engine in this has always been weird. I think Brian over BG's Model Works was trying to build one of these at one point, and I haven't seen hide nor hair of it in like 3 months because what a hot mess this is. But yeah, I mean, it's. Somebody said, why wasn't this sent over to Atlantis? We're discussing this on a forum, like because it was reissued in 2007, and it was in China then, so it's not something that could be sent to Atlantis. And Atlantis probably took one look at it and went, no, I don't want that. Please. No, thank you. So,
I know that they did new box art for it, so it's that 80s stuff with the laser grid.
yeah, it's very RoboCop video game graphics.
Yeah, I
there.
was gonna say Tron.
Yeah, there you go. I knew there was some there. Another reissue over at Revell. This kit hasn't been out for a little while because the last time it was put up as just a Ford sedan hot rod. So 32 Ford Tudor. It has the wheels now out of the 32 Highboy Roadster, the kidney wheels, the Halabrand looking wheels. Still has the Kelsey wire wheels in it. Still has the fenders, so you don't have to build just a Highboy version of that's a 2-in-1. So it has the fenders. This is a tooling based on the early 90s. I guess it would have been 32 Ford tooling. So good model kit. If you're into that sort of thing, I think I might
I know a
probably pick
lot
one
of
of
guys are into that.
I'd say I might pick one of these up because I do like 32 Fords, and this is one of the ones I never got in the past. Reissued 57 Ford Del Rio Hidden Valley Ranch wagon. 2-in-1 here, basically being stock and custom. New wheels. They're saying new tires, but I'm sure they're the same low profile tires that Revell uses on all this stuff. New tube grill. New. They're calling smooth bumpers, so maybe I'll take the parting lines out of the bumpers. It says. That's always been one of the problems with 57 Fords. They have giant parting lines right on the corner, right where the molds meet. But it says chrome, but it says literally the literature for this says variety of chrome plated engine speed parts. So I don't know what the hell that exactly means, but they're chrome, so you're probably gonna have to strip them. So there's that to look forward to. And this actually will have all of the engine options in it, which means that it has a supercharger, which was something that only came in the NASCAR kit in the past. You got pieces of it in the original 57 Ford, and throughout the customs, the two doors, they had pieces of it, but only the NASCAR kit ever had the whole supercharger. So if you want that piece, which is the piece that I want, which is why James will realize I sold mine this weekend online, yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to. I'll pick that one up. And over Salvinos JR, more NASCAR. I know everybody trying to, James, sit down, hold your hands, right? So ironically, this was just they decided to make this because they made all the Hooters cars Chase Elliott's driven prior, but then Chase Elliott won the race last weekend in Richmond with the same livery on it. So race winner, hurrah! Yeah, so Hooters car, Daniel Swartz's Freeway Insurance car. This is the Atlanta race winner. Everybody's sitting around going, man, that's a lot of Camaros. Why don't they release something else? The Fords and the Toyotas have to be retooled for the new bodies. So the Camaro's the only thing they can make right now. So Camaro, all the things.
All the things.
One last, because I say one, they did ran off a bunch of bodies from the 2023 Mustang tool prior to having it sent out to get it fixed for 2024. So there is one last 2023 Mustang coming, Wood Brothers, very, ancient Wood Brothers. It's like 70s pure later scheme. It's a cool looking car for those of us who remember like Morgan Shepherd and Wood Brothers in the 90s and the 80s and before that. So yeah, another Mustang. Let me see here. I need to grab into my actual files to see where I'm going here. I'm out of, that's why I figured I was out of the actual images. So let's switch photo sharing real quick to another group. Here we go. This is the kit only, the club only exclusive kit. So for people who don't know, Salvinos JR runs like a model of the month jam club, much like the Christmas story where you think you're getting a big fat bonus check, but instead you're getting a bunch of 124 scale monogram kits. This is the same sort of principle, only in NASCAR. So this is Richard Petty's 1981 Chevy Monte Carlo. Significant because it's the flip of the regular car in the sense that it's blue and red instead of red and blue. I believe we're molding this in red, and the blue is all decals. It'll only be sold to members of their builders club, which if I don't know, there's less than 500 of. So yeah, shucks. I'm sure that these will pop up on eBay for a ridiculous amount by everybody who bought like 2 or 3 other extra ones to sell. I thought about buying like 1 or 2 extra to sit on, but then I realized that they'd be sitting in my basement taking up space I'd rather have on things that I actually want. So, I mean, I'll get one because it's just part of the Builders Club, but yeah,
Because you're in the club, right?
because I'm in the club.
What's the story with the? Because he ran 43. Why is that a 42?
Right. This was done in it's a fun history lesson, right? So this was done at Ontario Speedway. There was a shtick back in NASCAR at the time where in order to have cars done in a program called the Winner's Circle, you had to obviously win a race and stuff like that. So this was right when Kyle Petty started racing, and Kyle Petty was running the 42 and ran the 42 his career. And in order to try to get this car in the Winner's Circles program, they put Kyle in the 43 and him in the 42 for one race to have him see if he couldn't win with the other number so that both their cars would be in this. It was basically an incentive program from NASCAR to get extra money for the year for winning races. So they're trying to get both of their cars in that. It didn't work. And then he tried to run the car at Daytona this way. And they're like, no, you have to run your actual car number that everybody knows you because Daytona's the big race. So it's a sort of a one-off little weird thing, and I guess that's why the Builders Club is getting this exclusively. But yeah, it's interesting in the history aspect of it, but I don't need another Salvino's Monte Carlo. I just don't. I have some. They're not bad, but they kind of very much remind me of the old NPC NASCAR kits where they have a universal chassis where you decide how long it's going to be by gluing the back half on, and the front and rear fascia fit to these is very dubious. Like I have one Monte Carlo that the front and rear doesn't fit at all. I have one that it fits perfectly. So what will this be when it arrives to me? Only molding gods know. The one thing that Salvinas is doing, and finally, hopefully, they'll actually be released in May. There's a lot of promises to this kit coming for months now. Is this new series of 1/20th scale open wheel cars for Indy that they're doing? I haven't decided if I'm going to get one of these, mainly because F1 IndyCar not my cup of tea. But the idea of buying the Japanese one here for Sato and building it just to annoy everyone that I've got an American car and threw a Japanese driver in it is very appealing. Oh, Japanese is everything. Yes, I do. But so this is an entirely ground up, new tool designed with the assistance of IndyCar from the CAD of the real cars. The only real difference between any of these is whether it's Honda powered or Chevy powered. So the top half of the engine is a little bit different between the two. Otherwise, they're spec cars, the way NASCAR is now, where it's a supplier-based chassis. Dallara, they're an Indy, supplies everybody everything. So they're going to do 4 of these straight out of the box. You have the Sato car. You have Scott McLaughlin in Bust Out Your Fluorescent Yellow Pennzoil. You have Kyle Larson, which if you guys remember, because I don't blame you for not remembering, because I don't want to remember either, but they did a Camaro in the same McLaren orange-blue scheme. So he's going to run both races this year. He's going to run Indy and then fly to Charlotte, assuming no rain delays or anything else like that. He's been very, very fast in practice, so we'll see if he can pull off the double. Hasn't been done since like the 1960s. And then Joseph Newgarden's 2023 Indy winner. So cool box art because it's in a Winner's Circle picture, a real car, and all that. Clay Kemp is currently building this on Facebook, so anybody wants to see how this kit builds out, what these decals look like, because obviously the decals have the fade printed into them, so you don't have to try to airbrush that red to orange yellow transition. I'd suggest again finding Clay either on YouTube or on Facebook and following the builds there. They'll give you a good idea what they're gonna wind up being, so to speak, in the sense of kits. They look good.
No anime.
No, there's no anime sponsorship in IndyCar. Sorry, but we can go over to
He's done. No interest.
Yeah.
I mean, one of those things where I'm tempted to buy one just to see, but at the same time, oh yeah, I'll throw it in the pile of all this other stuff that I bought to see.
I could
say in reality, is there any reason to buy that? Because I'll never build it. So, over at Aoshima, a couple kits this month. You get a reissue of their Toyota Crown here. I need to pull up the actual listing so I can remember what the name of this is. I think it's insurance. It's the insurance, everything we need. But no, it's actually the tuner house that's on this one, I believe.
Let's get the VIP treatment
Yes,
there.
it's a VIP car. This has been done before. It's just being added to the tuned model car lineup. So technically it qualifies to them as a new kit. Yes, insurance, Toyota Crown, 1989 Toyota Crown. Basically, yeah, you're throwing on the body kit here is what the shtick is. The Toyota Crown in this era is kind of old, motorized chassis and stuff like that. So this is definitely one of those for the looks kind of models. Also, being added to model car lineup for the first time in the new boxing kit's been done before. Is a but it's the second gen, right? Yeah, second gen MX5 in the Auto X livery, I guess. I
That's
believe
kind of cool.
I believe the rear spoiler and the BBS looking wheels here are what's different between this and a regular factory stock second gen MX5. I believe this is right hand drive only because hey, it's JDM. You have to buy a certain one of their second gen Miatas to get a left hand drive. They didn't make one, but yeah, it's cool looking. Auto exec sounds like something that's going to give you a virus though. Don't run that file. Don't no don't.
Very mid 2000s tuner car looking stuff.
Yeah,
Nostalgic. Coming back. It's been that style is starting to come back.
Over Fujimi. Just imagine words on this because this will probably be the box art. This is I want to say it's an 89 as well. Let me see if they've age gated this on their actual literature. But it's a Nissan. It's not a SEMA. It's a Nissan
Laurel.
Grand Tour. It's a Cedric and Glory.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is a Cedric. This is the high society car version. And James, if you remember what high society car comes with, it comes with the bubble gum. So this is another one of these kits with that goofy ass rubberized material that you have to cut up and put on here. Now James has been with this since this whole process started. So you remember I showed this before where it was like, hey, it's not even the right model kit it goes to when they show this this graphic to explain what this stuff down here was about. Well, hey, at least it's the right car now. So this is actually the car that this image really belongs to. Yeah, this is an old motorized kit. It's riding that generic Nissan chassis. I mean, you have to kind of want this to want this.
You gotta want it.
Bubblegum aside, you have to really be into your JDM four-door sedans, but is what it is. Reissue of their Toyota Prius. So we just have sort of an overview of the box art here, or overview of the kit parts because there is no box art for it. This is going to have every way this kit was released. So it's got the solar roof and a regular roof. Yay! This is actually, it's a Toyota Prius, so everybody calm down with their excitement level. But this is actually like a 2000s era Fujimi kit when they're actually making some pretty nice model kits. So it's a pretty nice model kit. It's probably got one of the most detailed chassis you'll ever find on an EV vehicle. It's really super detailed, but it has the same problem that every 90s Fujimi kit had, where for some reason the bottom of the seats are folded into the bathtub of the interior because no separate door cards either. There are so many Fujimi kits from that era that for some reason have the bottom of the seats molded in. And if you want to talk about things that make things a pain in the ass to paint, that would be one of them right there. Let me mask off around my seats to make my carpet. If you've ever sat around and went, I don't flock my floors, this might give you a reason to flock your floor because at least you wouldn't have to mask around those seat bottoms. I know it's a Prius. When this kit was originally announced back in 2008, everybody on Model Cars magazine said they were going to cut it, cut the hood off, put a Hemi in it and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a really nice model of a really weird car. It's kind of I don't know why this was made kind of model, but it's nice. Another reissue of their GTR series. This is going to be the 92 season Kawasaki car. Hasegawa already did this, so skip it. That would be my word of advice. It's got the new easy alignment system chassis in here, but the easy alignment system for the chassis on this has always been fun to me because this is obviously a street chassis because it's got a full exhaust system to it. Why don't you show the actual chassis to this because it's got a side exhaust on these cars? But it's a very basic graphic scheme, just white graphics on what it's like a park green kind of car. It's been done. It's been done by Hasegawa. Go buy the Hasegawa kit. James, you know how to pronounce this correctly. The Toge. Is it Toge or Toge? The Toghe.
Oh, I know how to say it, but I can't think of it right now. But it's not like it sounds. It's not phonetic.
Yeah, so the toggle switches here. So you're getting a reissue of their S13 Sylvia as well as the 180SX. Both of them are sharing a universal. Yeah, they're basically the same car, different sheet metal on it anyway, so it works out. But a new universal chassis. Both of these kits in the past have had a really bad old universal motorized chassis, so it's at least it's an improvement to that. It's the same easy alignment system where you can camber the wheels, lower the suspension, turn the wheels, and all that stuff. So new chassis on 80s, 90s era kits. These usually end up being like $12, so they might be worth the investment especially if you're interested in like because this does come with a left-hand drive, so you can build an American 180SX out of it. So it's a cheap way to get that if you want it. They've done a whole bunch of these 180SX kits, and not very many of them are like stockish, if you will. You're gonna get stuck with some like custom wheels with this, but it's probably the most stock version that you could see in the US, I guess, would be the best way to put that. Over at Hasegawa, you get a reissue of their R31 Skyline custom version with over fenders because I guess this looks good. I'm in a mood because of my coughing, guys. Like this is the same kit. This is literally the 9th version of one of these R31s. Yeah, we're gonna throw 3D print. These are 3D printed fenders, so 3D printing to a mass market kit again. So that's fun to see. But like over fenders, yay! I guess.
Watanabes.
Yeah, you got the Watanabes in here. The Watanabes have been in another version of this in the past as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah. I'd like to be more enthused, but I have.
So you're saying
I have 4 of them already. I don't need a set with over fenders. What was that, Sean?
I said you. So you're saying you're only going to get 3 of this?
Yeah, exactly. Another version of their new tool, late 90s Mini Cooper. This is what are we calling this? This is the BSCC Limited. This was let me pull up the literature here. This is the commemorative model produced in the success of the 1968 British Saloon Car Championship. So molded in dark green, new decals, and you're also going to get a new set of front and back seats to this. So yay, new parts at least. You're gonna see this as a problem in this month. You gotta kind of want these models to be wanting the 3rd version of this. Like there's right now there are people in the UK who are gonna be like, oh my god, there's never been a model kit of the BSCC cars. This is so awesome because the decals are very specific to this car. Everybody else is like, okay, and it's new seats, yay, okay, cool. Speaking of Watanabe, this is the Watanabe Dunlop Lola T9050 124 scale F2 car, Formula 2000, I guess is what it's called. This actually has some new parts added to it as well. This is going to get like new rear spoiler sides, a new windshield, a new headrest in plastic, no less. So they're actually tooling it up for the long run. You have to be, again, this is one of these things you have to be into. You have to be in the 90s era Formula 2000 in Japan because the T90 to this is the 1990 season. Another version of the Kremer Porsche 962C. At least we've taken the World Sports Car Prototype Series in Fuji 1,000-kilometer thing off, and we just put this here. I guess this is enough
Bigger
words.
font.
They say this is enough
font.
words this time, yeah. So much like these canards might be in the kit, but you're gonna have to make these out of sheet plastic because it doesn't say anything about new parts. So you're gonna have to make these little fender extensions yourself. They'll include a template, but yay. Guys, just print some resin. I don't know. Hasegawa does the kind of thing drives me crazy. And speaking of limited edition things that are the nth version of something that already exists. So you have the MR2 1986 early version Black Limited. So the Black Limited was a Japan specific 300 cars were made kind of thing, and it was black.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was black. There you go.
Nice box.
These MR. I have a couple. I have a couple of these MR2 kits. They're very, very nice models. Like they're super nice cars. There's a choice. They designed it so there's a choice of roofs. You can make a steel roof, or this kit, as it stands, has a sunroof in it. They made another one that has like T-tops built into it, where you can build the T-top roof or a steel roof. So like they really put a lot of thought into this. The engine, there's like an engine insert that goes in here that either has the turbocharger on it or doesn't, depending on the car. So like there's a lot of really nifty engineering about this kit. But at this point, this is like the 7th version of the MR2, and the last 3 of them have been these like, oh, it's a limited run of 300 that only existed in Japan, so no one outside of a Toyota fanboy knows what this is. It's like, okay, cool, I guess.
You know, that era of Toyota cars is really starting to come into known as a collectible.
Oh, right.
Right. Because my favorite generation of Supra is that 3rd gen Supra. This was probably as far as I'm concerned, maybe because I grew up in, I was like, what, in 1986, I was 9 years old. My favorite MR2 generation. I love this version of the MR2 the most.
Yeah.
So,
they're cool. They're cool. They've got a cool nostalgic kind of quality.
Yeah.
And plus you've got the always fun, like it's almost a 3-spoke wheel here. I don't know, it's very 1980s.
Yeah.
Wheel cover.
Very.
All right, so moving along, we got the 1993 Rally Indonesia Mitsubishi Galant VR4. It has new decals and an old kit. I had noticed as I was looking at this today, there's nothing on this here. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. There's a word photoshopped out up here. So I looked
tobacco.
I looked this up, and yes, indeed, the rally itself is sponsored by a Indonesian tobacco company that now is owned by British Tobacco. So I don't know if this is Rothman's or this is Dunhill, but yeah, there's a tobacco missing here. And I'm about to cancel my pre-order because like I can't do any more of these. I gotta buy a whole other decal sheet kind of things to supplement in the tobacco livery. This was the class winning car for this rally, so there's that. But I don't know. Why do I have to buy another sheet of decals? I know, because we save the children. While we're saving the children, we got the 96 Rally New Zealand Subaru Impreza over here. This was you can tell the flip here because this says smoke-free Rally New Zealand on it, right? So this would have been the 555 car back in the day. Same team. And now it is like CRC chemicals, and we're not going to smoke-free New Zealand, dang it. So you could see the transition between tobacco liveries, and we are no longer tobaccoing anything anymore. Get out of here. This guy is a very famous Australian rally driver. I can't think what his actual real name is. I think it's Roger, but he was known as Possum. So a lot of his rally car stuff have Possum up here as his driver name. It's Roger Bourne, and yeah, that's kind of cute. I like that. And this is a left-hand drive car, which I don't know. He specifically seemed to drive left-hand drive cars for some reason, because I have several of his actual kits. They've done a series of him specifically as a rally driver, and his cars all say "caution, left-hand drive" on the back of them, because obviously New Zealand, Australia would be right-hand drive country, so that's kind of amusing to me. Yeah. Brian Gugabos, to the White Courtesy Fund. I'd like to resin girl all the things, please. So this is a reissue of Hasegawa's 1966 Buick. I believe this kit's origin, if you believe the origin series of the 1966 American cars, they're reverse engineered off of what would have been existing at the time. So this would have been reverse engineered off an AMT kit. It has that weird, like, shallow interior and like a weird chassis to this as well. Several of them are re-engineered Johan kits because like they're stuff that AMT obviously didn't make. But you're getting Amy McDonald's little resin girl figure here. She's all like, "Yo, my face is on my car. What do you think?" I've seen a bunch of people who want to buy these to sort of kit bash them with like an actual, because we can stop sharing because that's the end. Who are like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get one of those because I could kit bash it." Like, it's 1/24 scale. Like these kits were done. My understanding of the kits were done. There's like, I think 4 1966. There's that Buick. There's a Cadillac. There's a Grand Prix, and I think there's one more. They were done as slot car bodies, but they were reverse engineered from the Johan and NPC and AMT kits of the day as like where they source the body from. That's why the chassis and interiors are weird, because they're like, it's a body we sold and now we're going to make a model kit out of it. So we threw, it's the same chassis underneath all the GM intermediates. So they're all the same chassis anyway, probably in real life. But yeah, okay, you could try to get a 66 Wildcat and throw the bottom in there, but I can't promise you that it wouldn't just fall right back out of the body, because it's going to be that little bit too big in all dimensions around, unless Hasegawa says it's 124th, but it's really 125th. I'm not about to buy one to find out. So
I didn't realize those are 124 scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. You guys can chit chat. Let me see if I can find all what.
Let me share something, because I know you guys will make fun of me for this one. Check this out. I have a Prius.
Nice.
Yeah.
I also have that same. I have the factory stock version, but yeah, I have that kit too. It's a really nice kit. I mean,
also have anime decals with it.
It does. That's
Yeah,
you bought that
it does.
for the anime kit.
That's the only reason I bought it. Yeah. Why else would you buy a? I haven't ever taken them out of the plastic, but you can kind of see the whole car is a wrap.
Was that a wrap, or is that just something?
They're individual decals.
No, he's
You can
asking.
probably see it from here. Yeah.
But
is it a real car? That's what he's asking.
No.
Okay, it's just sort of a custom version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Squid Girl, which was an actual anime.
You guys are educating me to a whole world of things that I had no idea existed.
All right, I found this. Let's do this real quick. So the Hasegawa 66 kits are a 66 T-Bird, the Type C, which is you notice these don't have the real names attached to them because we're not paying licensing. Type T is a 66 Thunderbird. Type C is a 66 Cadillac. Type P is a 66 Pontiac. The Type I is a 66 Impala, and then the Type B is the 66 Buick. These have all been done with sexy resin girls here, as you can maybe see. Yeah, I mean they were originally, when they originally came out, they were packaged as being lowriders. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting in the sense of like what I'm zoomed in way too much for that to fit. There we go. Like
I think their 66 Impala is actually a 65.
I believe it is
I think
too.
So.
Yeah, so this is obviously patterned off like a Johan kit because AMT and whatnot didn't do a 60. Oh, I think I'm sharing the wrong screen, aren't I? Yeah, it is. All right, hang on. I'm talking about something that no one can see but me. I'm awesome. There we go. Like obviously,
yeah, look at that.
obviously that's not that's patterned off the Johan kit, not the, because there is no AMT 66 Cadillac. But I love the material. There's Type C, because somehow they can't have tobacco decals, but I can make a Cadillac, not call it a Cadillac, and not have to pay licensing. That makes sense to someone, somewhere, somehow. Some lawyer says that's okay. So
I had a great time tonight, guys.
It was a good show. I appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Right, gentlemen. We are. Sean, are you coming out Friday? We started talking about that offline, but are you coming Friday? Or I know you extended plans on the other side of the weekend, but
yeah, I'm traveling all day, so I'm driving from Ohio, so it's what, 8.5 hour drive or something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be driving all day Friday. I'll be in there. My sister-in-law that we're staying with just lives like 15 minutes away from that venue, so we're staying there, but we'll Friday night.
Yeah, I'll see you at Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, there is a meetup called NNL Eats at the Dave and Buster's in the Willowbrook Mall, which makes no sense to you if you've never been there, but go on NNL East Is it NNLEast.com is their website? I mean,
I believe so.
Before I plug something that doesn't exist, yes, NNLEast.com. There will be a section called NNL Eats. Starts at 6 o'clock. It's in the Dave and Buster's. It's the loudest place you could possibly put a bunch of people that want to quietly talk to each other. I will not have. I'm flying solo this year, so last year was an experience because my kids were like, take all my money and spend it on arcade games. So it'll be a little bit more interesting this year that I could actually run around and talk to people because I was trying to keep them entertained more than I was doing anything else. So if you're going to be at NNL Eats, we'll see you guys there. Then of course Saturday is the show, the 8 a.m. lineup around the block. I need to talk to Shauna if we get off here in a second, but the two of us will be in. Well, I will be in a shirt for our podcast. I don't know if James is going to wear his gang colors or not. He has a shirt made. I need to find out your shirt size so I can get you a shirt made. But yeah, we'll be there. And guys, I think that's a wrap for this week. Appreciate everybody's support. Appreciate everybody coming in. We didn't really read too much of I was reading the comments as we're going along, but not a lot of it really. A lot of commentary to what we're talking about, but none of it really applied to the podcast in a bring it up kind of way. So appreciate everybody coming in. For those folks that are in NNL, we will see you guys Friday night, Saturday. And from me and the other guys, see you guys on the other side.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.